Hi, this is John with Flat 6 Motorsports, and we are in a new car. This is a 718 GT4 we just picked up for a build series. Yes, another Cayman. So to give you a little bit of history, I have owned every generation of Cayman, multiple ones actually. 987, 981, and here the 718. Decided to get a GT4. I was really looking for a kind of do everything more sports-oriented car. We go to the track quite a bit, so I wanted something I could drive back and forth to the track, but something a little more focused than the 911 Carrera on track, and that's why I decided to go with the GT4, thinking that this is kind of a great foundation, so looking forward to getting into that. But right off the bat, we've done a ton of 718 Caymans, just from simple street stuff to hardcore track things. And I have a 981, the Flat 6 Motorsports car that has a built 4.2 liters, very set up for the track, full aero, very raw car, but definitely not something I would ever want to sit on the highway with. I have driven it to and from the track, and it's quite miserable, but it's magic on the track. So this car, the ethos of it really is to be a kind of dual-purpose car, a street car that can perform well on the track. And obviously Porsche out of the box provides a great platform for that. The foundation of the GT4 obviously is enhanced over the regular Cayman with some suspension tweaks, aero tweaks, styling tweaks. Of course, the 4-liter engine. Now that did come common in the GTS 4.0 in later years, but basically bump in horsepower, 414 horsepower, flat 6, manual transmission. So got this car with the Porsche carbon buckets and PCCBs. Has a PDLS Plus headlights as far as spec goes. So a very nice GT4, good example of it. About 7,000 miles on it, so lightly used, and overall just a really good car. Porsche does a lot from the factory to provide a good foundation, and at Flat 6 Motorsports, I mean, that's the reason we're all Porsche fans. Why we do what we do is you have, the hard part has been done by Porsche. It's a mid-engine car, very low center of gravity, pretty lightweight considering modern cars. It does a lot of things very well from the factory, and it has a lot of potential. And to unlock that potential, typically, it's just changing out a few things to make the car drive the way you want. Now, Porsche obviously has to balance a lot of different things, some trade-offs, some considerations when it comes to different regulatory environments, compliance for different markets. So they deal with a lot of specifications from an engineering perspective to build a car to do a lot of different things. And the shortcoming of that is typically it's not exactly dialed for the true enthusiast. And even though this is a GT car, it's an entry-level GT car, it still leaves some to be desired. And I can tell you right away, my initial impressions of driving the car, and I've drove GT4s before, but having owned one now for a couple weeks and just getting more seat time with it, there's definitely a level of numbness to the car. And one thing I just don't like is the shifter. It's kind of vague. It's not very positive in engagement. You don't quite know all the time if it's in gear or out of gear. It's not bad. It's a good starting point, but it's one area that I'd like to address. The other big one is sound. The car seems to have less denting in it, so you get more road noise, tire noise. It's like Porsche engineered a little bit of difference in the GT car versus the standard Cayman S or base Cayman to give you a little bit more like 5/10, a little more NVH, a little more drama. But when you push it harder, you kind of realize it passes that threshold. You still want more. So this, while it does have a valve PSC exhaust system, the valve's still closed between 1,000 and 3,800 RPM. It's way too quiet for, a fun weekend street/track car. So one big improvement I can see right off the bat is just changing the exhaust setup. Now, that's very common. Many people who call us, it's one of the first things they do. So we're going to do a series of episodes with this car. I'm actually driving to the track right now. I'm going to put it on track, give you some impressions of me just driving on track. It's currently all stock. We'll drop the tire pressure a little bit, but nothing else has been done to the car. So I'll give you some impressions of it driving in stock, and then we can talk through some of the future episodes of what we're going to do. We're going to try to focus a couple things on the street performance aspect. So what are the must-haves of street performance, and just getting more engagement feel out of the car to make it more special, to make it more dialed for me being an enthusiast, for the street, and then also some of that's going to translate to the track. And then we'll have some future episodes as well where we'll talk more specifically about must-haves for the track, how to get this thing set up to turn. I already know on the street it plows a little bit. I'm anxious to get it on track just to kind of feel the handling dynamics and the balance of the car. But certainly I think there's going to be some things we're going to have to address to get the car to turn correctly and just perform at its potential on the track. So with that being said, we'll be pulling off here and getting on track here in just a few minutes. So let me get my helmet on, and I'll be right back. Okay, and here we are at the track with the 718 GT4. Good power, decent acceleration for sure. Brakes are pretty strong, not as much bite as a track pad, but the PCCBs do a pretty good job. Car has a tendency to understeer on corner entry. It kind of plows a bit, and then there's a little bit of bump steer coming out. But the pickup is pretty good, handles pretty well, except just that slight hesitancy to understeer and plow. But solid brakes, good acceleration. It has the makings of a very good sports car. But the car just needs to turn better. I'd say that's probably my biggest concern with the car. Is, I'm just going to slow it down a little bit so I can talk a little more. The car just has a tendency to understeer. The front end just needs, in my opinion, a little bit more mechanical grip. And then the bump steer on corner exit sometimes gets the back end a little bit less predictable than, a 911. And even other Caymans I've driven on this track. Just out of the box, you can tell the alignment is just not really dialed. And I'm sure Porsche does that for reasons. But overall, I would say, as far as the track component goes, the car does well. I mean, it's a fairly lightweight car. It's got good power. The gearing is a little bit long, but honestly, here out on the track, it's, track specific as far as RPM band and such. But, second, third, fourth feel pretty good out here. There's no, waiting. I feel like I'm always in the power. There's a couple of small, tighter turns, kind of at about, 3,500 RPM in second gear. So there's a little bit of sluggishness getting out where I don't quite want to go down to first gear. But that's really about the only complaint I have with the gearing here on the track. Brakes feel very good. They hold up very well. These are the PCCBs, so not getting any fade or anything like that. But I would say principally the biggest concern I have is the handling out of the box. It definitely needs an alignment. The car understeers way too much, in my opinion, for what should be a GT product here. So we're going to address that, and we're going to have quite a few amount of episodes coming out where we modify some things for street performance and also track performance. But I would say here on track, my number one recommendation would be, if you have this car, is to get an alignment. Obviously, we're going to do that. A couple things we're going to have to put on the car to get the car properly aligned. So we're going to do that, experiment with some of the suspension tuning as well. So we have a lot of great content coming. If you have a 718 GT4 Spider, definitely subscribe. We're going to have some further episodes to talk about must-haves and how to optimize the setup on this car. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't. Thanks. I'll see you in the next one.